Well, hi there. This is Sharon Vornholt, and I've got something just a little bit different for you today. I recorded a podcast and simultaneously recorded the video. So the podcast has the podcast intro on it. But this is a bit of a workshop. It runs about an hour long, and I'm going to show you how you actually take my blank marketing plan template and write a marketing plan for your business. Now, I've taken certain strategies and kind of plugged them into this one. But if you are, for instance, if direct mail is not one of the strategies you want to use, you can use the same principles in here and just put cold calling in or whatever it is for you. So this is just a practical way of how to determine your strategies, how to put down the steps, how to start to get a plan for outsourcing, and to put the whole thing together in your marketing plan. So set aside about an hour and do this for your business. At the time I'm recording this, it's still early in 2020. So you can get this done, and you've got a lot of time to work on this and to end up in a whole different spot 12 months from now than what you would be in if you did not have a plan. You know, you need a plan, you need a marketing plan, and it doesn't have to be difficult. It does have to be written, though. I'll say that. It does have to be a written plan, and know that you can adjust and make changes along the way. If you look up 6 months from now and you're going off in a totally different direction, that is 100% okay. You just pull out your marketing plan, make the necessary adjustments, and then continue on with your plan. So I hope you enjoyed this training, and I'll see you in just a bit here. Well, hi there, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Real Estate Investing. I'm your host, Sharon Vornholt, and I'm so happy you're here today. I get a lot of requests for help with marketing plans. It's something that I've done for a very long time. So I've done a lot of blog posts, I've done videos, I've done podcasts on this, but somebody said to me recently, can't you just do one where you share your screen and you show us how to do it? And I said, well, I can do that. So why should you care about doing this? Well, because if you do this, if you take an hour or so of your time, it's going to pay you back big dividends. I can tell you this, in your business, in your lead generation, and also in your bank account. Consistency is the key to success. And when you have a marketing plan, it makes all the difference in the world. So today I wanted to go through one. I've kind of filled one out just to give you an idea of where to start in your own business when it comes to creating a marketing plan, to actually writing it down and getting it on paper. So I want to jump over here to the screen. Now, if you're listening, you can follow along. Certainly, it's going to be great information. If you want to listen and then come over to the Louisville Gals Real Estate blog, I'll have the actual recorded video over there. So you can get it one of a couple of different ways. But I'm going to pull up my screen here and share the marketing plan template, and you can get the template over on the blog. It's a quick start marketing plan template, 60 minutes to success. So you can get that over on the blog, get a blank copy, and I'll tell you, make a blank copy and keep it for yourself. I don't have any plans to take it down, but you never know, if I make some changes. So I would want you to have it. So we're going to start out here with a marketing plan outline. We're going to go through the steps, and then we're going to go back and go through each individual step. So step one, when creating a marketing plan, when getting it down on paper, is to decide on at least 4 to 5 marketing strategies that you'll be using in your business. So that's step one. Step two is to then take each one of those strategies and break them down into steps. And I'm going to give you an example of how to do that in a little bit. But it's not enough just to say, I'm going to do direct mail or I'm going to drive for dollars. You have to say, how are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? What's your process? And how are you going to turn this into a lead generating machine? Number 3 is create a budget for marketing. This is very important, and you've probably heard me say before, you're either going to have to spend your time or your money, and in most cases, it'll be a combination of both. But when you're first getting started, it's likely that you're going to have more time than money. So you'll gravitate toward free strategies. Now, if you have a full-time job and you are really short on time, but you want to market, you want to do direct mail, you can outsource all of this if you have the money to do it. Now, creating your budget, I tell everyone, start where you are and then have a plan to get where you need to be, though. So we'll talk about budgeting a little bit more in a minute, too. So step 4 is schedule your marketing tasks on a calendar for the next 3 months. This is so critical. So you need to get the first 3 months down, and then as each month passes, you'll get the next month down on the calendar and so forth. And be aware that if you tried to I do a 1-year plan, and if you want to do a 6-month plan, that's a great thing too. Just be aware that there's very likely going to change. Something's going to change. You're going to change the way you do a strategy. Maybe you'll change strategies altogether. But that part of it doesn't matter. It's the magic happens when you have it in writing. So that's number 4. So we're going to decide on strategies, number 1. Number 2, break each one down into steps. Number 3 is create a budget. Number 4 is schedule your marketing tasks on a wall calendar, not in a drawer, not on a Google calendar, although you can do that also. I do that. I have a physical calendar and a Google calendar. And then step 5 is what can you outsource? It's important for growing your business that you begin to outsource, and we will talk about some ways that you can baby step into that. Step 6 is future planning. You have to commit. I want you to commit today to what are the first, let's say, 5 things that you'll commit to doing immediately. That'll be different for each person, but we're going to have a spot on this form where you can put it down, where you commit to the 5 things you're going to commit to doing right away. And number 7 is, what is your grand vision for your business? What are your 12-month goals, your 3-year goals, your 5-year goals, your 10-year goals? Once again, it's important that you know where you're going to go in this business. Now, you won't get it all right today as far as your 3-year goals, but if you have 3-year, 5-year, 10 years, this is going to be dependent partly on your age, the amount of years you go out. But if you start to put together a plan, a long-term plan for your business, then you can begin to put together a path for getting there. So once you have your vision for your business, and we're going to talk about 12 months here. That's what we're going to work with today. I want you to break that down into 12-week segments or quarters using a book called The 12-Week Year. That book was written by Brian Moran, and it will revolutionize the way you do business if you start to follow this type of a plan. Your great big giant goals won't seem so overwhelming. So let's start out with step 1. Now we're going to have steps and we're going to have strategy. So that's one thing about the video. It's going to be a little bit less confusing for you if you listen and then circle back and look at the video. So step 1 was to decide on 4 or 5 marketing strategies that you'll be using in your business. Like I said, this will be different for everyone. It's going to depend a lot whether you have more time or more money. But there are several that I think everyone should have on their list. They are direct mail, websites, and networking. Those should be your top 3. Those are certainly my top three. You could be driving for dollars, text and ringless voicemail, maybe, and then your strategy that certainly should be on there is your weekly follow-up with leads. Now, some of those might be if you talk to someone and they say, call me back in 2 weeks, then it'll be 2 weeks. So direct mail has been hands down my number one lead generator for 2 decades. There is nothing that works as well for reaching off-market sellers like direct mail. You need a website too. So we're going to talk about that. Driving for dollars, don't go out and drive around aimlessly. Have a plan for that. Networking, we'll dive into that because this is probably the most underutilized and very often free way to get leads. Text and ringless voicemail and follow up. So I want you to make a plan for what you can do now using the resources and the money and the time that you have now. And then I want you to make a plan for 12 months. Maybe today you don't have the money to send out 2,000 direct mail pieces, but I want you to have a goal up on your board. You know, a goal without a timeline, without a plan is just a dream. So you have to, I like to say, act as if this is how it's going to happen. And the way I like to do this is with a whiteboard in my office. I'm a very visual person. This is a great visual, and it will help you stay on track. And that's where I keep my master plan. Now, certainly I have a marketing plan, but I like to look at my board and say, okay, this is where I thought I would be right now, and here's where I am. You know, what can I change? What should I do a little bit differently? So that's where that comes into play. So let's take, step two. So step one was to decide on your strategies, and step two was to break each one of those down into steps. Now, for this exercise, I'm not going to go through every one of those different things that you could choose to be one of your strategies. I'm going to pick direct mail. With direct mail, there are a number of things you have to decide on before you ever send out your first direct mail piece. First of all, you know, your budget, and we'll talk about that again in a minute, but that's going to determine how many mail pieces you can send out monthly. If you're looking at white letters, you know, you're looking at about $1 a letter. That includes postage and the printing. It's all in about $1 a letter. If you're looking at postcards, which you can send for most things other than probates, then you're looking at something under 50 cents all in. That's for an oversized postcard with the postage, with someone else doing it for you. Folks, this is how your marketing gets done. You have someone do it for you. You know, you outsource it to a company. So I would recommend that you strive for an initial investment of $500 to $1,000 a month. So if you're mailing postcards, which would not be to probates, then you can, for $500, you can do about 1,000 postcards. If you're spending $500 on letters, then that's approximately 500. So that's the budgeting piece for direct mail. How much money can you allocate to direct mail? Now, the next thing is who. Who are you going to mail it to? So you have to determine, where do you fit into this? Now, you know where I fit. I like probates. It's the one place where you can find an endless supply of needs where they need to sell the properties. But there are also a lot of other things that you can drop into the direct mail funnel. Absentee owners, code violations. That's a list that you get locally. Absentee owners would be a list you purchase from a company. Code violations will be a local list. You can Google that and probably find that list free online. Notice of default, pre-foreclosures. Evictions, tired landlords. They've had one too many evictions and they are ready to be done. There's tax delinquent properties. There's an inherited list that you can purchase. people that have sidestepped the probate process. Oftentimes when I got an inherited list, it would have other people on there. Somehow divorces and different things were on there. Some people like to work list of recent divorces. There's vacant properties, expired listings, for sale by owners, probate attorneys. So you can see in the who piece of this, there are so many different groups of people, groups of motivated sellers that you can market to. Now, the next thing you're going to have to decide on is your mail piece. Are you going to use postcards or letters? I used to use letters for everything, and they were definitely more costly than using postcards. Now, for probates, I feel very strongly they should be white computer generated letters. Other people say use handwritten letters. That's just not the way I want to come across. So I think personally, after doing probates for a dozen years now, that I got the best results using a white computer generated letter. That's just been my experience. Now, when it comes to everything else, I think it's perfectly fine to use oversized postcards. I wouldn't use the small ones because they get lost in the shuffle, but use oversized postcards. Now, another thing I'd like to point out here is don't reinvent the wheel. These mail companies, companies that sell the postcards, they have copywriters and they have proven mail pieces. They're proven to work well. So don't spend a bunch of time trying to design your own postcard. Take one of those. If you don't like the verbiage exactly, change up that verbiage. But the important thing here is to get the darn mailing out, okay? Now, who's going to do it is your next decision. Some people try to do it in-house early on. Gosh, we did probate mailings in-house. Then we graduated to printing them in-house and handing them off to my gal, Becky, which you've probably heard me talk about. But it has become so much more affordable to just outsource them now that I personally think that's what you should do. There are a lot of good companies around, and to give you a little bit of perspective, probably 20 years ago, it was about $1.50 for a white letter. That was a lot of money back then when you were just starting out. Today, you can get it all in for about $1. Now, stop and think about this for a minute. Your postage is coming up close to 50 cents a letter. You've got your paper, your toner, your time. So that extra 50 cents that you're going to pay a company, you're not really saving any money by the time you figure out what's your hourly rate. I can guarantee you that. So use a tested direct mail piece. If you're one of my probate students, you've got letters, you have, whether you're an agent or an investor, you have a complete series of letters in Probate Investing Simplified. So the next piece is when. When are you going to do your mailings? This is something that should definitely be on your calendar. Put it on your calendar and know that if you're using a mail house, you need to allow maybe as much as 7 days up front for them to get the mailing out. So if your intention is to mail the first Monday of every month, then you need to have your list to them and you need to have that order placed about a week ahead of time, and you can instruct them, don't mail it till this date. You really don't want people getting your direct mail on the weekends. So you schedule your direct mail, put it on the calendar, and then just keep up with that process. Now, how long should you mail? Well, you have to mail the same people over and over monthly to get results. About more than 80%, up to 85% of your deals will come at or beyond your fifth mailing. That is a big number. And your competition, well, about 90% of them will stop on or before the third mailing. So just stay in the game. The last thing here is following up on your direct mail. When you get return mail, stop and think about this for a minute. Your inclination is probably to set it aside or throw it in the garbage or say, I don't know how to get their address. Well, guess what? Everybody else is doing that. So you want to follow up on returned mail. A lot of times you can find these folks on Google, on social media, and things like that. But there are a lot of places where you can skip trace them. Some of them are very reasonable. And I have an article over on the Louisville Gals real estate blog called How to Use Skip Tracers. So you can just put that in the search bar, and I actually have a link here. How to use skip tracing, I think is actually what the link says. So those return mail pieces are gold. So don't let them sit there and go to waste. So these would be the steps for direct mail. You know, what's my budget? Who am I going to mail to? What's my mail piece? Who's going to do this? The next, you know, the campaign. Who's going to keep the campaigns going? When are you going to send it out? And how long are you going to mail to them? Till you buy the house, someone else buys the house, or they come off your list for some reason. And then follow up is the key. So you would do this for each thing. And I'm not going to go into each one of those strategies because we'll be here for a week. But if it were, let's say for a second, it were driving for dollars, you would say something like, I'm going to take a different route home from my job every night and look at these neighborhoods that you would know. Or in my case, I used to farm a neighborhood that I really wanted to buy houses in. And anytime I was over that way, I would drive through and note down any houses that looked like they were distressed, houses that were for sale, houses that were for rent, so I could call the landlord. Maybe they were a frustrated landlord, but have a purpose when you're driving for dollars. Then if you see a house, what do you do with it? Well, you're going to send them a mail piece. Now you can have a stack of postcards on your dash where you write down their address. Some people stick a business card in the door, but you're assuming that they are going to come back to the house. I don't like to do that. Now, I've also got a blog post over on the blog on postcard sending apps, and that'll come up here in a minute, and I'll have a link for you. But get those people, find the property, send them a mail piece, maybe follow up with a phone call, skip trace them, get their phone number if it looks like a really good deal. Don't be hesitant to spend money to make money. So let's go back. I wanted to touch on this because I get a million questions on absentee owner criteria. If you're doing an absentee owner mailing, now I'm in Kentucky, which is a small state. If you are in a great big state like Texas, you don't necessarily have to go out of state to mail absentee owners. What I have found is that people have to be about 3 hours away for it to be a big enough pain in the butt factor for them to not want to fool with the house. So if you're in Northern California and you're looking for property in Southern California, then that would be certainly more than 3 hours. If you are in Kentucky or Tennessee or Delaware or places that are small, then you're going to want to market or get a list of out-of-state absentee owners. The next thing that I do is only get the counties that I want to work in. So surrounding Louisville, Kentucky, Jefferson County is the main county. There are other counties. And for me, I would remove any counties that I didn't want to work in that got further away than what I wanted to travel to buy a house or to own property. Next, I would remove zip codes that I knew were bad zip codes, war zones, the downtown area where it was businesses, and any other areas that I knew that I was not going to want to own or wholesale rehab property in. So I would take those out. And I would always go put a filter in that was looking for property with 50 to 100% equity. The reason is, even if you're starting with a 70% formula, by the time you back out repairs, if you're a wholesaler, you'll back out your fee, you are always going to be lower than 50%. So that is my starting point, 50%, 50 to 100% equity. Now, in my area, I would look for $50,000 properties up to about $300,000. because remember, I'm only going to pay $150 for it. That's, however, not my ideal property. My ideal property is right at or around the median house price for this area. It's what most of your rehabbers, you can sell those properties all day long if they are the middle of the road, bread and butter houses. So you have to decide what you want, but set a filter to filter out things that are too cheap because they're going to be in bad areas, or things that are too expensive. You want to develop a really strict criteria for absentee owners so that you don't waste a lot of money on direct mail. You only want to go after properties that fit your criteria. Now, when it comes to probates, those are going to be sourced locally. I do recommend that you try to get the list locally rather than purchase it. And that's, I've covered that a lot of times in my probate tips, but those lists are very expensive and they're not always so great. Same thing though, you mail to them monthly until the house is sold. So you can use ListSource or another list, a company for lists that are not local, like probates and code violations and things of that sort. Like I've said before, the money is in the follow-up. You have to mail monthly, and once you talk to someone, even if you get a no, the money's in the follow-up. Definitely follow up with these people. So strategy 2 in our example is websites. And there you can certainly build your own, but I don't recommend it. And here's why: because if you get a done for you site, these are people that have done the research, they've worked on the SEO, they know what works, they know where the opt-in form should be. So it's just really a lot simpler, and your website performs a lot better to get one of the done for you sites. Now, the two companies that I recommend are OnCarrot and Lead Propeller. And I've got a link here for both of them. They're both great companies, and they both were started and are run by real estate investors. So they're not a website company that builds websites for anyone. I've got links here that I will put in the show notes where you can check them out. I started with OnCarrot, and the reason is because Lead Propeller wasn't around when I got my website. It's just where I started out. I love OnCarrot. Lead Propeller is a great company too. They have subtle differences. You know, there's pluses and minuses for each of them. And I know I can only speak to OnCarrot because that's the one that I have, but they have great tutorials for that'll help you do things yourself. They also have a great support system. So check these two out. You can have a website up in less than an hour. And folks, people don't think you're a real business if you don't have a website. You have to have a website. Now, I have a branded company site. That's for the people that are looking to see if you're a real company. I also have a motivated seller site. So that URL for your motivated seller site, if you, let's say you were in Austin, Texas, your URL might be sell my Austin, Texas house fast, or, something similar to that. Sell my Louisville house fast. Sell my Nashville house fast for cash. That's the type of URL you want for your motivated seller site. And you get those, as you know, through a company like GoDaddy.com, Namecheap, any one of the companies that sells domains, URLs. That's where you get that. It's roughly $10, $15 a year. So to get a website, you'll have to check the individual website plans. I know OnCarrot has one that starts about $49 a month. This is a case where I really want you to understand the value of getting a done-for-you site. They are set up in a way so that they're designed to get motivated seller leads. If you set up a website, I like to tell people I had a lot of pretty websites, but did they get me a lot of leads? Nah, not so much. They looked great, but they They were not set up and arranged correctly. And I didn't have the right contact forms on there. So you have to have a contact form on there. Both Lead Propeller and On Carrot offer content for your sites. I would encourage you to look into those. They will cost you a little bit more, but they will help you get ranked faster. Having content on your site, unless you've just got a whole lot of time to write content, you need some content, and it's very valuable to have them provided for you. So understand that it will take a while for your website to get some traction, for it to get some momentum. If you are building a website yourself, you're going to be lucky if it ever gets ranked. But if you're using one of these done-for-you sites, they have done a lot of that upfront work for you. So your website will be getting ranked generally in months rather than years. And that, my friend, is huge. Okay, let's move on to strategy number 3, which is networking. Okay, so number 1 would be to join your local RIA. But don't just join it, become an active member and volunteer. Do you know the people that get known the fast in your local RIA, Real Estate Investors Association? They are the volunteers. They're the people that man the door, that sell the raffle tickets, that volunteer to do things that put them front and center as far as visibility is concerned. So it's great to go. That's the first step. But the next step is to volunteer. All of your rehabbers, your people that are really doing deals are in that group. You're going to find landlords in that group. So there'll be people there that you can sell your houses to. There will be people there that you can buy houses from. But more importantly, you will get a network of people where you can find out who sells flooring, and who has the best deal on A, B, or C. You'll find all of those people in your local RIA. In mine, we have agents. We have just about every kind of tradesperson. We have attorneys, real estate attorneys, home warranty companies. So the networking is very powerful, and you should belong to your local RIA. Now, I also recommend that you join at least one other place where you can network, and that's going to depend kind of on what's a fit for you. I know someone that belongs to BNI. That's not really my cup of tea, but for women, there's NAWBO, the National Association of Women's Business Owners. If you have a company like, just went to a networking event and the lady sold home warranties. Well, if you have a business like that, a home inspection company, a home warranty company, or something that would be an ancillary service to realtors, you can join the Women's Council of Realtors as an affiliate. There are all kinds of groups that you can join. I know someone that belongs to the home builders as an affiliate type of thing. Look for something, maybe it's the Chamber of Commerce, but look for something and just go. Find one. Don't find a million that you're never going to go to. Find one, or if you're an overachiever, a couple. But go to those and go to these networking events with a plan. Think quality of people over quantity. So go with a plan to meet 3 people or 4 people each month. Let's say you go every month for 12 months and you meet 4 people. That's almost 50 new contacts you've made in a year. You do that for 2, 3, 4 years, you will begin to be not only known, but a sought out person in these groups. So networking is very powerful. Holly McCann, who I talk about quite a lot, Hard Hat Holly out in Southern California, has bought hundreds of houses with one strategy, and that is networking. She has never spent money on marketing because she is what I call a super networker. And if you are a little bit afraid to jump into that arena, I have to tell you, you're going to have to jump in, because you can't be the best kept secret in town and be a successful real estate investor. So networking should definitely be a big part of your marketing plan. Strategy 4, I want to talk about text, follow-up calls, and ringless voicemail. Now, these are things that happen, can happen after you send a direct mailing. I do not recommend that you cold call probates. In fact, it's best if you can have someone else do it for you. Have a really good script and use a virtual assistant to do this for you. It's not your best use of time to be doing this, but there are different services where you can text people. You can certainly get an absentee owner list with phone numbers. You could send them a text. I will say this one thing: be careful with ringless voicemail. It is being outlawed in some areas unless the person has contacted you, let's say in a probate situation or any situation. They have contacted you and made the initial contact, then that would be okay to follow up with either a text or a ringless voicemail in most areas. But check the laws of your state, because as you know, things change with the speed of lightning today. But this is a great way to increase the results of your direct mail. One company that I work with, I did a podcast with just on ringless voicemail, he said that it can increase the results of your direct mail campaigns by up to 400%. So think about that for a minute. You are getting maybe a 1% return on your direct mail. What if by spending another quarter, another 25 cents, you could get 4 times the results? Instead of getting one call on 100, you could get 4. Wouldn't that just be, that's just really, there's no downside to that. So look into that, make sure you can use it in your area. But this is very often the most effective when it's added on to or aligned with your direct mail campaigns. So that is strategy number 4. So we've covered direct mail, we've covered websites, networking, text, follow-up calls, and ringless voicemail. And I did want to touch on driving for dollars, because I know people that have done this very successfully. It wasn't me, because I was not really that committed to doing it. Like I said, I had certain areas that I would swing by when I was in the area. One thing I did always do when I was looking at property, and today, if I were to go look at a property, I would drive the area immediately surrounding that property. So go 3-4 streets in every direction, and that has a couple of different purposes. One, if the house you're looking at is a great property, it's neat as a pin, but when you drive the neighborhood, all the houses look like they're in terrible shape, or you see a car up on blocks, or trash in a bunch of the yards, that's going to tell you that even though the house that you're looking at is great, it's not going to get full price as far as a retail sale because of the neighborhood. So that's one benefit that you get. And it's also, the second benefit is that you can find other property surrounding the property you're looking at if you'll just go about 3-4 streets in every direction. Now, we touched on this before. Whenever you're out and you see a house, whenever you're out and about, I'll just say this, look for vacant and distressed properties. When you find one of those, send them a mail piece. Sure, you can put something in the door, but they may live in a different state, so don't count on people seeing that. Also, the next investor that comes along may very well take your card out and put his in there. So send a direct mail piece, because your goal is to try to find out where they live. If you send it to the house and they've done a change of address on there, you can figure out where that is. You can also, if you're driving for dollars and you see a great property, go knock on the doors of the neighbors. They're probably the people that know where the owner of the house is. Send them a postcard. Take a picture of the house while you're in front of the house and use one of the postcard sending apps. And this is a very personalized mail piece that people like getting. They know that you've been to the house because it's their house. So they know that you are seriously talking to them about their house. And follow up with these leads just like you would any other lead. Another thing to consider is to use what is sometimes referred to as a bird dog or a property locator. You can find those people in your local area. So why would they do this for you? Why would they go out and drive for dollars for you when they could be getting the lead themselves? Well, because maybe they don't know how to negotiate, or they don't have the money to close the deal. There are just a million reasons why they would be perfectly happy to locate property for you. Now, I always paid $1,000 a referral fee to these people, which may seem high to you. It wasn't high to me because I would just figure that into my offer. If they would bring me a quality lead with the contact info for the house and I closed on the deal, remember this part, you got to close on the deal, then it's well worth paying someone a nice fee because you want to make it worth their while. They're not going to do this for you if they're not compensated. But if they could find you, let's say they found you one house a month and they made an extra $12,000 a year and you got an extra 12 houses a year, what would that look like in your business? So go over to the Louisville Gals real estate blog, and I did a whole post on this, postcard sending apps, where I listed some companies. You can also Google them, but I did some research on some companies so that you wouldn't have to do that for yourself. So you can check that out too. Strategy number 6 is weekly follow-up with leads. So what's your plan? What's your system? How are you going to follow up with these people even after they said no? No just means not now. So you're going to need some sort of a CRM. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole today, but some people use Podio. I personally have a love-hate relationship with Podio, but you need a way to keep track of your leads because they will fall through the cracks and some other investor will get the deal. So have a system for following up. Now, I follow up always with direct mail. If I have spoken to them, I will make a phone call and follow up with them. We just mentioned ringless voicemail. You can follow up with them. Once again, we're talking about they've already contacted you. You can send them a text. When people won't pick up their phone, they will look at their phone and look at a text. So texting really works very well. But schedule your lead follow-up just like you schedule anything else. You can put that on your calendar. You can actually put this on your Google Calendar with reminders so that you get sent reminders of when it's time to follow up with someone. And when you're following up with someone, even if you've done previous direct mail to them, always put a business card in your follow-up mail pieces. If you made someone an offer and they threw it in the garbage, they just didn't like your offer, they probably threw your business card away too. So when you follow up with them, send them a business card. You can also follow up with a service called Bonjoro, Bonjoro. That's a great service to make a little video that comes up in a video player and send them a quick email and say, hey, it's John. Thanks so much for letting me look at your house today. People love that, and you should always thank the seller for taking the time out of their day to show you their property, even if you didn't get the deal, especially if you didn't get the deal. The money is in the follow-up, and that's just one more layer of follow-up. Now, step 3, where in this process, we've been going through strategies, but step 3 is to create a budget for marketing that will get results. So you need to have a clear idea of how much money you can spend on marketing. Remember, you've got to spend your money or your time or a combination of both. You have to know what you're going to use the money for. If you have $1,000 a month, we'll just use that as an example. You have a W-2 job, you've put aside some money for 6 months for marketing. A lot of people do that. They front load their marketing campaigns while they still have a job. So let's just say you have $1,000. What are you going to use the money for? Well, maybe you're going to use $100 a month for a website. You figure you'll spend $20, $30 a month getting into different networking events or buying a meal, or maybe that number will be $50. The rest of the money could go to direct mail. But spend your money wisely. I don't recommend that you go right out and decide to do pay-per-click or 10,000 mail pieces and blow your whole budget. Start with an amount, especially if we're talking about direct mail. If you can only do 500 pieces a month, but you can do those consistently month after month, that's much better than dumping your whole budget into one giant mailing and hoping you get a deal. One thing I want you to think about is look at both sides of the coin. How much can you spend today, and what do you actually need to spend to get the results that you want to get? And this is what you should be working toward. Now, step 4 is to schedule everything on a calendar, and I do mean everything, and I mean a great big oversized wall calendar. You need to be able to look at this. You need to have a marketing activity. Especially if you're a full-time investor, you need to have something written on every day, whether it's a follow-up call, getting a mailing ready to go out, you attending a networking event. There should not be any empty days on there. You should have something written on every day. And marketing is your number one job as a real estate investor. You don't need to know how to negotiate. You don't need to know how to do a closing. You don't need to know how to do any of it until you have leads coming in the door. You can also use apps like Trello and Asana that will really help you keep projects organized. And by projects, I mean, put down your steps in your direct mail campaign there also. I happen to love Trello. I use Trello all the time, and these are both free. Now, I mentioned this before, to set up reminders on your Google Calendar. Set up follow-up reminders with people so that you don't forget. Set up follow-ups in your CRM. You don't want leads that you have spent money getting in the door and you've already spent time on. It takes effort to get those leads to the closing. Don't just send a letter, take a no, and then move on. That's really not where the money comes into play when it comes to real estate investing. The last thing here that has to do with marketing is that I love whiteboards. I love to go to Home Depot or Lowe's and get a big sheet of whiteboard. Runs about $10 and mount it on the wall with those mirror hangers. And plan everything out. And you can put a square in the center of that whiteboard. This is my business today, and over here I want to do direct mail, and then draw a line for driving for dollars, draw a line for networking, whatever. Start to put spokes on your business. What are you going to do? When are you going to do it? And start to put little marks by things that you could outsource. Maybe not today, but in the future. So when you are thinking about doing your marketing calendar, be thinking about your goals. What do you want for an average wholesale fee, and how many houses do you need to reach your money goals? Know your numbers. You have to know your numbers. You have to know how much it's going to cost you to get a deal. Now, that's not just going to be the price of a letter. Maybe it's the price of several mailings, and out of those mailings, you're going to get 2 deals. But you have to know what your costs are to acquire a deal. If you will put put your marketing plan into writing, put everything on a calendar, you will see a huge difference in your year in 12 months in the dollars and the amount of deals you do. And if you get really good at time blocking dedicated time in your schedule for your marketing to work on your marketing plan, that will make a huge difference in your business in 1 year also. So get organized and get a plan together. This is really the thing that will make or break your business, is having a marketing plan. So I want to talk about, there's going to be some assignments here. I want you to think about what you can outsource. That's the first thing. So I want you to outsource as soon as you can. And I want you to think of one thing you could outsource today. You can go on to Fiverr and outsource something for $5. But I want you to make a list of all the things you do in your business that you are currently doing each week, each month, and maybe annual tasks like bookkeeping or taxes. Make a giant list of all those things. And then make a list of things you want to stop doing. Make a stop doing list. Now, you may not be able to stop doing all of these things today, but make a plan to stop doing the things that you're not good at. I firmly believe that rather than spending all your time trying to be, for instance, a great bookkeeper, if that's not your skill set, you can hire someone to do bookkeeping for a small business for not a lot of money. So decide on the things, make a list of everything. Go back to a book. I always think about the book, The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. That book, he tells you to make a list of all the jobs in your business, and then put right beside it, put a name beside it, who's doing that. Now, in most small businesses, it's going to be your name. Your name is going to be beside every single one of those jobs. But think about this. What if a year from now, you could have gotten rid of half of those jobs? What if you were getting so good at closing deals, you didn't have to do those other jobs? So I want you to do a bit of a mindset shift here and think about the business you want to build and the business you want to own. That's probably not the business you are working in today. So develop a long-term plan for outsourcing. So where do you find people? Well, my go-to site is Upwork. And I will tell you, on Upwork, you want to treat this like you would any other interview. I screen people by looking for people that match the job that I'm needing somebody for. Don't advertise your job on there because everybody will suddenly have the skills that you need them to have. You can go on there, search for terms like assistant real estate background. So you'll find people that have great skills and have worked with other people in real estate investing. There are quite a lot of them on there. And then once you have found several people, then I email them back and forth through their system. You're going to want, at that point, to put job description in there and see, you're going to want to invite them to apply for your job. All of this is in Upwork, how to do this. This is so that you don't get 100 responses. You want to choose the people you want to talk to. Once you have narrowed it down and you've got a couple of people that look like they would be a good fit for you, that have the skills that you need, maybe they can work the hours you need and they have some skills, but you could train the other skills. Then set up a video interview. I like Zoom. Zoom is free so long as you don't go over 40 minutes, but get them on a video call. These guys are all used to doing these types of interviews. Talk to them, see if they are a fit, if they've told you they can devote this much time to your job, but they have children running around the background, and you ask them, do you have daycare for your children? No, they stay home all day. Well, hey, I've had kids and I have a granddaughter, but there has to be dedicated work time. You can tell a lot about their skills, about their English skills by simply doing an interview with them. But I personally have had great luck on Upwork. Another site that I use all the time is Fiverr, Fiverr. I love this site. I'm kind of a Fiverr addict. You can get used to be everything was $5. Now it's $5 to start out with, and they put on I think a $2 service fee. But I have gotten a complete logo package on Fiverr for about $30, something that would have cost me hundreds of dollars to get done somewhere else. So I love Fiverr. Another source where you can look is with your universities, and look for someone that needs to do an internship. So interns are a great source of help. They can often, sometimes they'll be free, sometimes they will be low cost, but oftentimes they'll have to complete an internship as part of getting their degree. So let's say for a minute that you need someone with social media skills. You can find people at universities that have those skills, and certainly if they're 20 years old, they're going to have really good social media skills. So contact your local college or community college and see what types of programs they have there. Also, low-cost help, moms and students. These folks need to make money. Students are often working on campus. They're not making a lot of money. They're making maybe $8 an hour, less than that by the time they get taxes taken out. So look for a college student. They can be great workers. Moms, a stay-at-home mom that can work after the babies are in bed. They can be a great source of help. Or maybe they have school-aged children and they're available during the day. You have to be a little bit flexible when you're outsourcing, especially when you're using somebody that, like a mom, you have to have some flexibility. But one great thing about VAs, and I've had really good luck with VAs in the Philippines, they are working. When I'm sleeping, they're working, and I get up and my work is done. You can find great people for $5, $6, $7 an hour. For upper level work, it's going to cost you more money. Don't be surprised to pay someone with really drop-dead skills and education $20, $25 an hour. But if you can get someone, let's say for $20 an hour, now I'm not talking necessarily today, I'm talking maybe down the road. If you can get someone for 5 hours a week for $20 an hour, $100 a week, and that allows you to close one house a month, is that worth it? Heck yes, it's worth it. So again, think about the big picture here. Take baby steps toward reaching these goals. Now, step 6 and step 7, I'm going to kind of put these together. So step 6, I want you to put down the 5 things that you'll commit to doing immediately. Maybe that is to get a VA to do something, anything for you. This is just about getting to taking the step to getting some help. So find someone that you can outsource something to. But what are the 5 steps you'll commit to doing immediately? One of them, I hope, is in writing a marketing plan. Take what I've done here and go back and make it your own. Maybe you'll say, I like to cold call. That's one of my things. I'm not doing direct mail. I'll do driving for dollars, I'll do cold calling, and I'll do networking. Maybe you'll choose 3 entirely different ones. Maybe in your area, bandit signs work well. They don't work well in a lot of areas because they've become illegal in a lot of areas. But if that's your thing, if that's what you want to try, then go for it. The most important thing is, once again, to have a plan. Where are you going to get your signs? When are you going to put them out? Who's going to put them out? And if somebody is going to put them out for you, how are you going to reimburse, pay them when you get a deal? So these are all steps. Remember, everything is about steps so that you get it all done. So that's number 6. And number 7 is, what's your grand vision for your business? touched on this a little bit before. What are your 1-year goals, your 5-year goals, 10-year goals and beyond, 3-year goals? You should at the very least have 1-year and 3-year goals. Maybe one of your goals is to quit your job. Maybe you want to make enough money so your spouse can stay home. Maybe you want to pay off debt or build an emergency fund. That's a big one. Maybe you want to fund a Roth self-directed IRA to use for investing. Figure out what your why is, because you have to have a powerful why, and then you have to backstep into your goals. So once you have done this, how do you manage this process? Well, you break this down into 12-week segments or quarters using the framework of the 12-week year. This is in my recommended list of books, The 12-Week Year by Brian Moran. So let's look at how you would do this. Let's say for a minute, your 1-year goal is to have $40,000 in the bank in 12 months. You want to have a $20,000 emergency fund, and you want to have $20,000 in a Roth IRA, or, you want to, we'll just say a Roth IRA to use for investing purposes. It could be whatever you want the money to be for. You're probably saying, well, that sounds like a lot of money. Well, that's 4 wholesale deals where you made $10 or $10,000. Wish it was $10. $10,000 in a year. So $40,000 broken down into a 12-week year means that once a quarter, you're going to buy a house and wholesale it for $10,000. Now, that doesn't sound nearly as scary, does it? So the next thing that you would do is to say, how much marketing do you need to do to get 4 deals in a year? What is 1/4 of that number? So what do you need to do this quarter? That's 1 deal. Okay. What does that look like as far as my marketing? How many direct mail pieces? If I attend 1 RIA meeting a month, that's 3 meetings in a quarter with a goal to meet 3 influencers, people that are actively doing this business. Then you've got a plan. You've got a plan for getting to where you want to go. So maybe in the course of a year, I'm just going to make this up. Let's say you want to do a deal a month. Maybe 80% of those deals or 70% of those deals would come from direct mail. A certain percentage would come from your website, your lead generation website. A certain percentage might come from another source, maybe bandit signs, maybe networking, cold calling. The mix will be different for each person, but it's a little of this and a little of that, and all of those together make up your the mix of how you're going to get deals in the door. But I want you to don't think about the $40,000 number. I do want you to think about it, but I want you to think about, how do I get there? That's just 4 deals in a year, maybe 1 more to pay for all the marketing. But you can do this. The magic is in putting it all down on paper and then seeing that it's possible. You have to believe that it's possible, and you do that by having a path to getting where you want to go with this. So the last thing I want to go over is kind of a reading list. My number 1 book, that if I had to say there's 1 book that will change your life, it's reading The 12-Week Year by Brian Moran. Getting this framework inserted into your business so that you're doing everything based on quarters. It makes it all seem a whole lot less scary, I'll tell you that. A whole lot more attainable. Some other books that I really like are The One Thing by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan. That is a great book. It's about focus. It's about focusing on one thing. The Miracle Morning. I got to tell you, this is going to look like something different for each person. This book is written by Hal Elrod. You've probably heard about it. Some of us are not 4 a.m. people. Some of us are not 5 a.m. people. I think your miracle morning can start whenever it needs to start for you, but it almost certainly involves getting up a little bit earlier than what you're normally getting up. Maybe even 30 minutes to start with. But get a morning routine. Get that book. It suggests different things like meditation, writing in a journal, getting your exercise in. The point is to just to decide, I would say, to decide what your morning is going to look like. Because if you can own your morning, you can get that start each day, then you'll have better overall results in your real estate investing business. Another author that I really like is Michael Michalowicz. He wrote The Pumpkin Plan. I just read a book called Clockwork, which I really like. So the premise of Clockwork is to build a business that will run by itself. I mean, who doesn't want that? He also wrote Profit First, which I need to put in there. I know he's working on another book at this time. A book that is hugely helpful for working with different types of people is called Fascinate by Sally Hogshead. Another one of my favorite books is Scale or Fail by Alan Maslin, that talks about you don't want to stay a one-man shop forever. You want to scale your business so that you can build a business that will stand the test of time. But Scale or Fail. And I've added another book to the list, which is one I got recently by my fellow podcaster, Chris Kamitzos, called Start Ugly. And this is where I want to leave you today. Starting ugly means just getting started. It means nothing is going to be perfect. If you wait for perfect, it's never going to happen. Just get started and know that you're going to look back and have some cringeworthy moments. We all have those, and it's really the way it's meant to be. If you wait till you think everything is perfect, and by the way, that does not exist, then you will be waiting for the rest of your life. So I'm going to drop a link here. There is already an opt-in box over at the Louisville Gals Real Estate blog, where you can get your copy of the Quick Start Marketing Plan. I'll put a link wherever you're listening to this. So keep a blank copy of the marketing plan. Keep one that you fill out. Look at it every 90 days as you grow, and know that you're going to change things up. Maybe you thought, I'm going to cold call FSBOs, and then you decide, I really hate cold calling. I don't want to do that. Hey, it's okay to change your plan. Just go back and revise your plan and start again. Also, over on the blog, I've got a freebie over there called 25 Ways to Find Motivated Sellers. If you are unsure about all the different ways, about the strategies you could use to put into your business, go over there and get that freebie. It's a great little thing with just a list of all the different ways that you can find motivated sellers. Some of them you probably have not thought about. Like I said, the marketing plan template is over there, and I would love to know. I would love to hear back from you after you've done your marketing plan, after you have actually sat down and said, okay, this is a plan Sharon showed me how to do, but this is what my plan's going to look like. This is what fits with my finances, my personality, and the vision I have for my business. So I would encourage you to do that. You can always reach me, leave me a comment over on the blog or the podcast, wherever you're listening or watching. And like I said before, if you're listening on iTunes or one of the platforms, I'll put some of the links in the show notes, but come on back over to the blog. I know your listeners. Come on over and watch the video and look at these. Get it really solidified in your brain as we go through this physical sample marketing plan. Okay, guys, I think that's it for today. I'm just about out of breath here. Let me know how I can help you, and I will see you same time, same place next week. Bye for now.